Okay, the stream should be up at this time. Please note that push to talk is required for me to actually do things, so some people are going to be talking, other people may not be able to hear me. Talk is required for me to actually do things, so some people are going to be talking, other people may not be able to hear me. Talk is required for me to actually do things, so some people are going to be talking, other people may not be able to hear me. Oh dear lord, in the stream you can hear my keyboard. Talk is required for me to actually do things, so... Oh.
I cannot in fact hear a keyboard, so it should be fine.
Actually it might be the wrong stream that's occurring on a loop.
Okay.
Or actually... Oh dear lord, in the stream you can hear my keyboard. Talk is required for me to actually do things, so... Oh.
I cannot in fact hear a keyboard, so it should be fine.
I'm hearing a loop of my voice in the background. Actually it might be... Oh no, wait, never mind, I know what it is. Okay. Right now I have a lobby setup called Clinic Day. If you wish to join that, or watch the live stream and be in voice chat here, that'll be perfectly fine. You have a choice.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
There is a lobby named Clinic Day. If you wish to join that, that'll be fine. Or you can watch the stream. Perfect, I'll edit the post. Or actually, I... Perfect. I'm going to give it about 5-10 minutes for a lot of other people to join. Right now, there's 58 people who signed up.
In the meantime, feel free to start looking for the lobby. It's called Clinic Day, currently on Pinewood Derby, although we'll probably change it up. Yeah, come on over. Plenty of room. Yeah, so I've just checked the stream on YouTube and I can't hear you typing. If OBS has anything like voice activation, you might want to push that up.
But I lose the priority speaker thing. I know what the actual issue is. What you're hearing is me typing, and the vibrations from my keyboard go through the desk to the microphone. That's what's happening.
What the hell? Okay.
I need a boom.
I don't think it's something you could filter out with like voice activation, but we'd have to look for it. If anyone here has any experience with OBS and knows how to set it up, that would be most welcome.
I have a solution. I'm just going to move my microphone and hope that resolves the vibration issue.
You could also try using like a NVIDIA broadcast voice filter to like filter your mic, maybe, if you want to try that.
I don't think that's the solution. It's specifically the vibration of the desk that you're hearing. Actually, I might be able to do something else. Okay, that's much better. I just need to remember to look right when I start talking. At this time, if you wish to join as a player, feel free to do that. I'm going to pick a map that makes sense when people are in the lobby. As a reminder, by the way, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Bar Academy text channel or on the live stream itself. I'll be able to answer those questions through either voice or through those channels. Okay. By the way,
Uh,
oh,
I'll just say that I see 21 people here in the voice chat, and currently 8, including myself, in the player list. So, guys, jump in. This is this is literally how I started playing the game.
as a few notes, by the way, when it comes to these matches, they are rated, but that's okay. Also, there is no such thing as spectating throughout these matches. If people have questions about certain items, those items will get answered.
These just people that really have like, I don't know, their expectations. Probably this is more like a replay review or something instead of just a place where people hop in. Not sure. That's what I thought when I heard of this.
That's
Yeah,
probably
I
going to
guess
be
we
the next one. I just need to get back into doing these. The last time I've done a clinic day was about 6 months ago. Yeah, exploiters, they have more HP than an LLT and Mex combo. I think it's like 850 HP with the Mex and the LLT versus 1200 with the exploiters. Close enough. Yeah, so, close enough.
You pay 100 extra M and quite a bit more E, but like you save the time to build a mech, which if it's like if it's like a 3 mechs, then that pays for itself in reduced build time, because
Yep.
you'll reach the next mechs faster.
Mm-hmm.
The other big thing is that because the exploiters are so low to the ground, it's really hard for raiders to be grouped up when it comes to effective raiding. And usually with exploiters, having like 2 or 3 is just enough to shut down most of the raids that occur, especially if they're right next to each other.
I want when there's like a big fight, I want to reclaim it. And I want some like res bots. Like my instinct is to drop down bot lab and make res bots that way, but it just takes so long. Should I just go up with my comm?
If you have anything that can reclaim the exploiter that's near it, that would be preferable to just getting a whole lab and trying to go around reclaiming stuff.
Yeah.
Res bots are really nice, but doing it that way is not necessarily cost effective. So.
When should you usually make your e-storage?
It depends. Sorry. It depends on what type of energy production you're going for. Perfy, this is now your turn for that person.
Happy to help.
Thank you. I don't have the mod permissions in the first place, so yeah. Okay. Okay, we have 13, 14 people. I'm going to be looking for a map now. No, the issue is I need things like what that person was doing is specifically saying the moderation team needs to handle. I'm not a member of the moderation team, so.
We still have room for like 3 more players, probably even more. I'm going to cede my spot if more people join.
By the way, if you are good at the game, just as a reminder, don't try to go out of your way to win on matches. Just try to allow the players to actually do what they want to do first before trying to win the game. I will let for all the really good players as well. Just remember that I will give an announcement for when you can start trying to win the match. This will usually be after the 20 or 30 minute mark.
Are the standard early scout rushes still allowed? Like the first few scouts?
Those are perfectly fine. What I'm specifically referring to is when a player is about to collapse. Anyone can play. So. Okay. I'm going to start the match now. And now I have a bug report for Typhoon.
Because of the start thing not working with your boss and having to resort to force start?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll make that one.
Oh no, I've already put it in the channel.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
As a sign up, by the way, I do have a live stream on YouTube up. It is a few seconds behind. So. Yes, I am being fairly cruel. This is a map that works in all the way up to 8v8. That's why I picked it first. At the start of the match, I'm going to be testing to see if I can do a specific item. See if I can trigger pauses or not. If I can't do pauses, I will be asking one of the mentors, maybe Hobo Joe, in doing pauses when I ask them. As a reminder, by the way, there's going to be a lot of spec cheating throughout this match because our goal is to make you a better player, or to make you more aware of things that are going on in the match. Also, if you have questions about what you want to do with your starts, or anything about units, you are free to ask in voice.
Is there specific roles on this map?
There's only really one, and that would be for the top left, start where Scarecrow is in, or the James is in, which is in the bottom, the person being in the bottom left. Those are usually techer positions, and same for Dosa and for Ostradava. Sorry, Ostarva. Those are also tend to be tech positions. Everyone else is basically a frontline player.
Scarecrow's taking air because Crowpeck's not answering.
So. Hornet, it's fine if the matches are rated or not.
That rest doesn't matter.
To note on what the right side's been doing, we're coordinating before the match to hand out transports. 'Cause they're pretty important on this map.
Yes. I'm going to try to pause right now, just real quick. Nope, that does not work.
Do you need me to pause?
Yeah, I'll need you to do that. Not like right now, but when I call for it.
I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a great wind map. 2 to 13 is not the best.
By the way, one thing I will mention with the transports, if you're doing things with them, don't go trying to con bomb an enemy base with them.
Yeah. They're just to get my comm up to the front, because bit of a poor spot here.
I would like a pause at the 3-minute mark.
Okay.
pause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. At this time, I would like for people to take a step back and look at what's going on the map at this time. There's a fair amount of things to point out real quick. If you are getting a nano turret and you're only producing, if you're producing less than 150 energy, I would recommend getting more energy production before a nano. Yeah, that too. Sorry. Also, when it comes to placing buildings, try to be careful about, factories in particular. Pay attention to how they're facing at times. As units, when they go and exit the factory, they like to go in front of the lab. That could just mean that units take a little bit longer to get to the front line, or they do other things while until you need them. If you're getting a T2 lab, I would like to ask that you delay that until a little bit later in the match.
Even eco?
Yes, even with eco. That's just because of it changes the dynamic of the match quite a lot.
Okay.
If there's anything that people want to ask about this time, like how a player's positioning themselves, going to the front line, or unit choices that people are making at this time, feel free to ask.
I have a question. So, I'm not trying to call anybody out. It's just something that I'm observing. But on the, am I allowed to talk about the match?
Yes, you are allowed to talk about what's going on in the match and what exactly.
So, in the bottom left, again, not trying to call him out. I just have a question about Paragon's strategy of moving his commander up so early. Is it worth that metal risk to push so early up before he has enough build power back at home, or even capitalizing on these mexes here up on top of the mountain?
Those mexes belong to the other player.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. But that's okay. It works out fine if he can. With early comm pushes, your goal is to have map control, and if he does push to that 2 metal max in the middle, basically, and he can hold it, basically he has a little bit of extra metal income, and he has a fair amount of time to react to whatever the player is doing. That assumes that the enemy player is also not bringing units up to the front. But in his case, as it will occur right now, it will work out perfectly fine. The only thing I would make a note of is the being a little bit low on energy production. So.
Okay.
For the top right, those are usually air and eco. Eco is also interchangeable for tech. That would be, if you're watching the stream, these 2 spots I'm going to refer to. Those are your general techers on this map. Are there any questions about what's going on in the match?
Should we continue?
Yes. Scarecrow, don't be that good with the bomber. It's already paid.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Actually,
Just try not to win the game outright with that bomber, okay?
basically,
Yeah, I wasn't trying to.
it does that though,
Appreciate it.
unfortunately. One other note, by the way, please don't try to push past the middle of the map. That's basically the Center Valley and the Middle Chasms. So.
Yeah, I was trying to show the power of one bomber.
For early bombers, basically, the trick is basically just knowing that they're coming in some way. Usually, the early T1AA turrets are usually good enough for dealing with bombers if you're careful. It's just that it takes quite amount. It takes about 2 or 3 shots from a T1AA turret to work. That's a nice decon block, gunpowder.
Am I allowed to raid?
Say again?
Am I allowed to raid?
No, not really.
Okay.
If you're doing it in the very top or bottom lanes, please avoid it.
Remember to try to periodically look at your resource bus up top. This should tell you if you're having any issues. For example, if you have your whole metal bar full, that means you need to be spending more of it. Metal in bank does not win games. It might mean that you don't have enough energy production, in which case you should, of course, increase that. And if you're flush on both metal and energy, well, that means you need to add more build power. For example, constructors or construction turrets to help you spend that surplus. For example, for right now, Gunpowder, Nano Nova, Orzo Boy, Mad Gas, you're all kind of high on metal, which means you should probably be increasing that. Increasing your spending metal, or increasing your energy production depending on your particular issue. For example, Gunpowder, you have literally no energy right now. So, oh yeah, because the wind died and.
Pause at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inconvenient thing, inconvenient pause, but perfect. You can continue.
No, please go ahead. I was just gonna say that if you're on a map that has a low minimum wind speed value, you might want to support your wind turbines with solars or even advanced solars. Something that produces energy consistently rather than in dips and highs like this.
So at this time, you should be seeing how the East team, they have a really good stronghold on the north side of the map. The South team has really good map control on the south side. This is a general case of one team is either going to win starting at this point now, or they're going to start losing at this point now. Just through the map control and how mexes are either being contested or not contested. So if you are on the west team, I would be very concerned about losing on the north side, but you should try work on getting things done on the south side. As for the east team, I would look at trying to expand it on the north side of the map and try to start winning over there, whereas on the south side you should be concerned about pushes that start coming in. To ping, it is Q middle mouse button.
I have a question in my fight versus Mad Dog here. It's more map specific, but when there's a lot of ramps and you're fighting uphill and stuff, do the rocket bots do much there, or?
It depends on what they're shooting at. In your case of what you're doing with, they actually will be okay, but the plasma bots will do better. Rocket bots are really good when there's when the terrain is very consistent. Yeah. If it was at the bottom of the ramp, for your positioning versus units either on the ramp or near the top, rocket bots will be doing better.
Also,
Right.
plasma bots, their range changes with elevation, so they struggle shooting uphill and they excel shooting downhill. So it's really hard to win a fight uphill against an equally sized army of plasma bots.
All right.
On top of that, I strongly recommend that you look at what your allies are producing at this time. For example, if an ally of yours is working on getting a lot of economy going, that might mean that you need to be a little bit more conservative about your approach on pushing or slowing or holding. Also, if you're on the map and you are seeing a bunch of empty mexes, I strongly recommend getting those mexes built. Even if no one's using them, then the team's not benefiting from them.
Are we able
Or
to contest the South Plateau?
say again.
Are we allowed to contest the South Plateau?
Yes.
Alright.
Anything in the middle of the map is perfectly fine to contest. So.
Are we ready to continue?
Yes.
I think so.
For the gunships, by the way, if you stand still while cloaked, the gunships won't be able to kill you. By the way, walking while cloaked is quite expensive.
Remember that this map has a few sneaky approach paths. you may want to ensure that your base is covered.
Yep.
Sorry, I forgot my bind was on the pause key for my mic.
No problem.
It happens. Okay. Well, we can take an opportunity to look at this. Right now, middle is doing with the push from Hobojo. Speezy might actually be able to push into Mad Dog quite well. Nutty is starting to push into Horse Boy quite well. Real quick, if people want to look at the bases, I would, if you don't already have a nano turret, I would strongly recommend getting one of them, at least just to help with build power. If you have a T2 lab, you're free to make a tier 2 eco. Yeah. Also, multiple e-storages are nice, but they are not required, even for teching, so. It's pretty sad. I would recommend starting to push. If you look at what your teammate's doing,
Yep.
if you don't know about set target, I would. Oh, actually, I probably should talk about that later. That'll be fine.
Remember also to look around at the map and take any metal spots that you might have missed. This applies especially to gunpowder and paragon. Oh, okay, I see you're already on that. Forgetting to take mexes will not be seen kindly by other players. Let's leave it at that.
I would like to pause at the 13-minute mark in 10 seconds. pause right now, please. Okay. At this time, I want people to look at the top of their screen. Please track down. Please keep a track of the commanders amount on the map at this time. Currently, there are 13 commanders on this map, as a few have already been killed and are either reclaimed or are going to be reclaimed soon. CI. Okay. At this time, please look at what your allies are doing. If you have a T1 lab and you're going to T2, I strongly recommend that you reclaim your T1 lab. Oh, I didn't ask for down pause yet.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, good. For Orzaboy and Mad Dog, that's actually a really tight corridor that you need to work in order to start pushing north or west. That's so be careful of both lanes in that sense. Things like rocket bots really do work out well in those lanes.
Is there like a general way to figure out when you should tech up?
Basically, it's when you can afford it. Right now there's only one person that has T2 available, and that's more or less because they haven't been involved in the match. But teching is really a question of when you can do it, not of if you can do it. Sorry, it's when you can do it and if you can afford it. So. Also, remember to scroll up and see what other lanes are doing and how they're progressing. For example, on the north mid lanes, you will notice that they're a lot more contested now than they used to be. Whereas on the south lane, the commander just died, and there's going to be a fairly harsh push coming into the south lanes from east.
Are we allowed to introduce TT units now?
At the 14-minute mark.
Very well.
Well, the thing with T2 units is it makes you vulnerable because you need to spend a lot of metal to get the T2 factory up. And if you are not completely safe, then you can get punished very hard for trying to T2.
As a side note, by the way, at the 20-minute mark, that's when the very top lane and the very bottom lane, that's when you can start really using those lanes to do things, like raiding into the back of people's bases. Okay. A few other things to note, by the way, always try to make a line move with your units, especially with rocket bots and plasma bots. And one other thing to mention, if you are not familiar with set target, I would strongly recommend that you get familiar with it. Basically, with set target, you are telling it to prioritize a specific enemy over everything else. On the default binding, it's Y. If you're using grid menu optimized bindings, it's going to be S. If people want to unpause at this time, you are free to do so, if there are no other questions. I did mention at the 20-minute mark to not use the north and very top and south lanes for raiding, by the way.
Looks like someone just did.
Oh yeah, or the boy is not in the voice chat.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Wombat, in that case, making a single LLT would have been the solution. Yes, Hornet.
I think Wombat DC'd.
Is he? I don't see.
No,
him.
not. Oh, from the voice chat? Maybe. No, he's in the voice chat.
Okay.
One player was disconnecting from the game for a little bit, but it seems they're still in the game.
Yeah, that person's staying at 800. What? And this isn't QTPFS. That's a bug report. That's a very, very interesting thing that occurred. Actually, that might be a system issue for Nova. He's sitting at 22% CPU usage. That can mean integrated GPUs normally. There's a fair amount of energy overflow that's occurring. People are using reclaim bots.
Remember also that sharing units is a very helpful mechanic. If you have units that you can't use right now because you're a bit busy elsewhere, you can just give them to another player near to where they are, and hopefully have them use those units to their advantage. For example, the James, you could right now consider giving those hounds to maybe Gunpowder Golem or Paragon. Consider. If you want to keep microing them, it's of course fine, but if you think you're otherwise occupied, I would be probably donating those in your spot.
For the
Not
record,
necessarily,
he
though.
asked if I wanted them. What a good guy.
One other thing to mention, by the way, if you have an ally that's T2 and you need to tech up, feel free to. I would strongly recommend buying from that player and getting your economy going. Wombat, you should reclaim your T1 lab. Keep a builder on, yeah.
So, buying means sharing the metal and then having them build the constructor for you.
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah. You said like 400 metal.
Sorry, Wombat, I should probably mention that about 5 minutes ago, or a minute or two ago.
Just remember to make sure that the person you're sending metal to actually has a tier 2 lab and wants to sell a tier 2 constructor to you. Happens more often than you think. You won't get that consent.
Quite often, people will say they are selling, which usually means that they are trying to exchange tier 2 constructors for metal.
So, Wombat, what I would recommend doing is not keep the T1 lab around for any longer than you had to, and use that metal to get the T2 lab that you're building. Also, if you are if you are reclaiming in an ally's base, I would recommend sharing that metal back to the player so that they can recover quickly. Basically, Spreezy. Yes. If you have a metal storage to take in the metal, then yes, you can store the metal. It is worth noting that overflowed metal does not get logged.
Again, does not get what?
If you are overflowing resources to other players, that doesn't get logged in terms of payment. Usually when people are buying, expecting to buy, or selling, they're expecting to see a chat log.
Yes, true.
If you're in the south lane, I would strongly recommend getting a few red spots of some kind to just start reclaiming. There's about 5,000 metal and reclaim right there.
Overflowed metal gets distributed evenly amongst the team, right?
Correct.
More or less.
Basically, it goes to the people who have their. If your metal share bar icon is all the way down to the bottom for everyone, it gets distributed equally. However, if there's a player that has their metal share slider higher than yours, they will get the metal first before you when there's overflow.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also remember to periodically look through your idle units and keep your factories, constructors, commanders occupied. You really don't want them idling most of the time. They can be useful elsewhere.
Wombat, I wouldn't recommend that unit for the time being. I would recommend units like amphibious bombs because you're still in the recovering phase. Also, if you are using bombers, I do not recommend using fight command with them as it doesn't really work that well. And also, if you're game bombers, I would recommend going for things like bases rather than frontline units. If you are if you're pushing your units, remember to build radar at the front lines and have multiple T1 radars if possible. Or if you want to build clickable cameras, that's also fine as well.
In general, vision is an extremely powerful tool. You can use things like spy bots, you can use things like the radar bots have an incredibly high line of sight range. You can even use stealth tanks as a makeshift scout, just so you can keep an eye on your enemies' units and target them accurately.
Can you get pause right now?
How about you? Thank you.
This is just a courtesy to let someone catch up.
Nano Nova has been lagging for a rather large part of the game of the match. This might be a larger issue.
Yeah, I think.
Remember to. Yeah. Remember to zoom out periodically, like right now. It's a very good time, and look at the map. Look where your team is in trouble, where they may need to get some help, where you might need to send some help their way. Also look at where your team is.
Fucking admin. Is an admin here?
Please don't interrupt these events. Okay, I've kicked this person. Rather, I am working on.
You muted that person instead.
Oh well. Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's extremely easy to just tunnel vision on your part of the map. But the way you win a game is by focusing on weak or strong spots of your team and advantage of those. So zooming out periodically, extremely helpful.
One of the things that I'll mention right now is that sniper bots are not really going to do that much in the south lane right now. Things like the Hound or maybe a Fatboy or two might actually be a lot more helpful, or even Recluses. It's just that there's a lot of vehicles in that lane, and snipers, they require a fair amount to work. Yeah. Nano, are you here in the voice chat?
They are in the voice chat, but they defend themselves, so
okay.
Unlikely to help. I'll explain in the spectator chat. I think you guys can carry on with the game. I'll be
Yeah.
right with it.
That's likely a system issue with or running on an iGPU, is what I'm thinking right now. Hi, Icequick. Okay. Feel free to unpause it this time.
I am, yes.
Okay. Bar might be running on your iGPUs if you have that.
Sorry, say again.
I think Bar is running on off of your iGPU rather than your dedicated GPU if you have that.
Yeah.
We were seeing at 22% CPU usage with 2 FPS, which is why I'm making that guess.
It's not running very much in my CPU. It's just on, not running very well for some reason.
I can help you later in bugs and support, or I might be able to at least.
It might. I might just need to restart and retry. I've had an issue with it before where it just run like garbage, and then the next time I turn it on, it works perfectly fine.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes. South Lane is going very back and forth at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a good way. With T2Us, if you are the James, I would recommend getting some butlers up front just to do reclaim. I would like to remind people that there is water on this map.
Also, one funny thing is that rolling bombs don't actually have sonar. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Kropek, are you in this voice chat? I don't think that's the case, no. Yeah, okay, I'll...
There is a backdoor moment happening right now.
Yep.
So... Yeah, that's... That's something that can happen quickly. So if people don't know, on the west team, there's basically a whole bunch of amphibious bombs and water that are coming up behind. So that's what's basically been happening for the past 5 minutes. Ooh, that's going to be painful. For rolling bombs, you don't want to use zippers, you want to use welders, by the way.
You want to use what?
You want to use welders to counter rolling bombs.
Yeah.
And you need it because zippers, they don't have the rolling bombs take about 6 seconds for a zipper to kill. Hobojo got quite lucky. The important building survived. With the amphibious bombs. So, spam for late game units is frequently. It's something that tends to happen. The amount of units actually does matter quite a bit. Which one's Hornet?
I think they needed to be on this line to look down at.
Oh, that's because sprinters are they're really short to the ground and that hill's rather steep. Also, rolling bombs are quite low to the ground as well. Scarecrow, are you here?
Yep.
I'm going to recommend that you do something in settings real quick. Under game, if you look for cloak units, there's a unit that I believe it's called Scuttle. It's not turned on for you. It's not on by default for cloak. Those cloak.
Yeah.
This match is practically over at this time. So.
Yeah, I don't see any turnarounds happening anytime soon.
For the shurikens, by the way, I recommend using move and keeping those the Sundrens spread out quite a bit. Because what will happen is they'll stun the entire army, rather than targeting a specific unit at a time. Yeah, it's very much GG. As soon as the amphibious swarms occurred, it was GG. As a note, there are nukes on the field right now. If the West team wants to resign right now, that would be nice. It will speed up the game by quite a bit. West team doesn't have a win condition right now. Yes, they came through the back door on that.
wouldn't say this is the best beginner map.
No, Hornet. This is to focus on what the game is right now, not a whole bunch of other things. Let me find another AV8 map that's... who put in the... Oh, okay, that was perfect. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, sorry for the mod abuse.
That very much is mod abuse.
Also, sorry for the kind of low level of engagement from Rizon. I'm kind of sleepy, so I'm already struggling to stay awake. Hope I'm still at least a bit helpful.
For snipers, you need to look for units that are relatively cheap and that are quite quick. Snipers have a really long reload time, but they have really good damage, so using expensive units like the Tiger is not going to do very well at times. Ranked game equals 0 basically means that the match will not be your rankings won't change, but off of the results of the match. Let's see. For snipers, one other thing that you might want to consider are units like the Arbiter or the stealthy missile launchers from vehicles. Also, air units like especially bombers, are really good versus snipers as well.
Hornets are pretty neat T2 gunships.
Those two. I do need a mentor playing the match, unfortunately, for pauses. That's the only thing I can't do as a spectator boss.
Honestly, there should be like a special third team in games. It would be cool if there was like admin type team. So you have players, you have spectators, and then you have admins. It would be neat.
That's not quite possible right now.
Yeah, I know, and limitations and all.
Were there any questions that people had during the match?
Yeah, I had a question. How do you diversify between or not diversify? I guess how do you choose between bot and vehicle factories?
It depends on the terrain.
For bots, the question is kind of what are you trying to achieve with them? Because they are generally cheaper. For vehicles, the advantage is that they have a little bit more range. If I were to be choosing bots, I would be looking for maps that are a little bit more open in their lanes, or have a lot more movement opportunities from one lane to another. With vehicles, I would be looking at things like how tight is the lane, how bad are the choke points.
Also, vehicles are more expensive on metal than bots, and bots are generally more expensive on energy. So if you're on a high metal map, vehicles are a really strong choice.
Yeah, and also the vehicles tend to be more health efficient. If you calculate how much health you get per metal, it's usually better than bots. For example, Stout is a very good unit for that. It's very chunky for the amount of metal you pay.
Okay, thanks.
There are also some maps where bots being able to climb steeper slopes matters a lot, because there will be terrain that bots can pass and vehicles can't, which gives you a lot of flanking opportunities.
Yeah, maps like Eye of Horus is a very good example of that.
The match is probably ready to start, driver.
Yeah.
On coastlines specifically, there are some areas where bots can gain an advantage over vehicles because of their better passability. There's terrain that vehicles can't really use that bots are better in. You can climb around on the hills and stuff.
Oh.
Not to say that vehicles don't work at all on the map, it's just that some of those central areas with the clusters of hills, the bots can climb up and down them and around them and gain high ground advantage, whereas vehicles will be struggling to path through the area.
Question. I heard amphibious tanks can climb walls better than regular tanks.
It's true.
It's true, but that's it's not mentioned really that much in the game.
They are bad. Amphibious tanks are not worth it just for their ability to climb better.
They are very good for raiding though, because they have super high EMP resistance, so they can't be stopped with shurikens.
Oh, that is not mentioned. I had no idea.
Yeah, you can see that if you mouse over the unit card in the bottom left, it'll show you all the unit stats, including EMP resistance.
Evening, guys.
So, amphibious tanks can't climb. It's not really worth mentioning. They can't climb that much better.
They don't climb any better than regular vehicles. They just have the speed penalties of the amphibious tanks are not there when they compared to the regular vehicles. That's the main difference.
Hey, what would you guys say this is a wind or a solar map? Just 10.5, I know. What would you say?
Should probably mix them.
I would
so you need some stability.
Yeah, I would recommend going a little bit more on the wind side, as the wind floor is quite high. Anything above minimum value of 2 is actually quite good for wind.
Okay, cool.
But getting an early solar or 2 would actually be beneficial.
It's worth noting, if you build 3 metal extractors off the start, you need to build a solar after, or you'll just energy stall building the turbine. It'll take you 10 full seconds to build your first wind turbine.
2 mechs, 2 wind, then a factory. Is that a good start, or
you're better off going 2 mechs, 2 wind, third mechs into more energy, and then a factory.
Right. Okay.
For vehicles, you generally want to have about 60 to 70 energy production at a minimum before going for the lab. For bots, you can get away with 50 to 60 energy production.
Okay, cool.
I would recommend having a little bit more energy production than those two values, by the way. Those are the absolute minimums before you start really stalling.
I think you can.
I guess
go
just
a
hope your
little
wind
bit
turbine's
less.
behaving.
If you build a constructor first, you will get just enough income to not stall. Because you get like what, 5 energy per constructor? Or was it
3 to 5.
Remember.
Also on this
Oh,
map,
they-
there's
they
energy
give
reclaim available. So if you get an early res bot, it will pay itself off in the energy department.
Bit of deforestation, is that?
Oh yeah.
I have a question about backline playing. If you're going for like a normal T2 push, what are some guidelines for eco up to T2, and when do you go for the T2 shot?
I believe for T2 timers right now, it's 5 to 6 minutes is when you want to start seeing the T2 laps being finished. Normally, you want to sacrifice your commander at some point during the T2 build to get the reclaim for the factory up quicker.
Tier 2 timings are very map dependent as well. So it depends on the resources available to you on any given map, so it'll vary heavily by the map. Some maps you'll be able to have as many as like 8 mexes while you're teching, or even more. But then some maps you'll be teching off of 6 metal income from mexes, so it can vary wildly depending on the...
Yeah, those timings I gave were basically for DSDR, for context.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing on the time because those used to be like 3 minute 45 to 4 minute seconds to 4 minutes for the timings.
Yeah, those the timings used to be shorter because the commander used to give a lot more metal.
Yo, I was watching Volshark stream, and he had like auto ping messages.
A very important thing about hitting those faster timings is you need to reclaim things that you're not using anymore. Like your tier 1 lab, as soon as you're done producing from it, you can reclaim it, and it'll speed you up a lot. You put that metal into growing your economy instead.
Yeah. For example, if you were to start building advanced solars, reclaiming your basic would be a very good way of boosting your production.
How many construction bots is a good number to sort of start before you go pumping units?
It depends on how greedy. On this map, you can probably get away with 3 before producing units, but I wouldn't get any more than 2.
I've been known to go for 5, and I think that's my problem. One of my problems.
Yeah, that will open you up
a
to
couple of units first, just to defend against raids.
For context, the first raiders are usually going out about 1 minute and 40 seconds to 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Oh.
So.
I can't wait till they let us play with the salamander.
Those units will not be available during the clinic.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still excited for them.
Also, one other thing to mention, if you're sending out red spots, I would recommend having them be paired with a grunt or a pawn, just so that way they don't die to raids like what just happened in the north side.
You're a little bit early on energy converters there, Spreezy.
I only have 3 mechs. How am I gonna do it then?
You want to be reclaiming things like you can reclaim your bot lab after you finish building what you're building.
I don't think it's too early for converters. He's overflowing energy.
I guess. I usually think it's getting an energy storage as the first answer to that, especially with wind.
It would be better to get energy storage because converters require certain. The economy in bar does not work the way that people expect it to.
No.
Yeah, the economy difference from Supreme Commander is what's really thrown me off. Like, I think early on, the most. Because I used to play that a lot.
Spreezy, at this time, it would be really good to reclaim your T1 lab.
Nope, thank you.
If you're looking to accelerate your economy quickly, advanced solars can be good as well because you get that higher energy requirement faster than you do when you're scaling off of wind, and you have the resources for it. So a couple advanced solars would do well here.
I can't remember who it was. Someone said they were like efficiency equivalent to AFOS at one point, but I'm not sure if that's still the case.
That's definitely not.
I would not self-D your commander right now. You would self-D your commander whenever you're going for the lab itself, not pre-lab.
Yeah, you pretty much, because the commander has his own metal income, you pretty much only want to detonate him when you're fully out of metal. And remember that you still have 2 basic solars, which you can count as 300 metal that you have. So before you run out of metal, you reclaim those, and then after you've run out of that metal, you would detonate your commander.
Is it too early to be building construction turrets?
No.
The question is, do you have 180? Do you have 180 energy income to start with, or not?
You can also sort of cheese it up if you have the energy in your bank. If you have thousands, if you have an energy storage, you can get it up before the income, but you kind of need to be careful about doing that.
Yeah.
I built 3. Should have only built 1.
Yes.
Stage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Nanostars are really easy to overbuild, and it's really easy to metal stall because of that.
I've heard different numbers given as a rule of thumb for how much metal income per construction turret, but it's in the range of 5 to 10 metal per turret. I guess it depends on what you're building a bit.
It very much does depend.
Yeah.
I would assume the 10 metal to income per turret is a much more
Safer
accurate
bet.
way.
Yeah, I guess the 5 is more like if you're building like pawns or something.
I wouldn't really think about breakpoints like that personally. I would just say if you're having trouble spending your resources, build more.
Yeah.
And if you don't have resources, don't build any.
I guess for those breakpoints, when people told me them when I was learning, it sort of helped me understand that you really only need a few construction turrets, because overbuilding them is something I see a lot.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, and they're deceptively expensive on energy. A lot of people don't realize that right away. If you build a few nanos, you will drain all of your energy.
For nanos, by the way, one other thing Nutty said, you don't need more. You don't usually need more than 4 on T1. For most T1 labs, they can't take any more than 6 nanos to begin with. You will build power stall on those factories.
So Spreezy, you're looking for any scraps of metal right now. You could reclaim one of your tier 1 constructors because you've got a few more than you need.
You can also reclaim one of the advanced solars if you really need it, the metal as well.
Is there a good rule of thumb for upgrading to T2 as frontline? Like, time-wise?
Only for techers, it's basically what the map allows for. With everyone else, it's basically a question of if you can afford it or not, and if getting T2 would actually mean that you win the game in the first place.
Yeah, if you're in a situation where you know you cannot win a fight in T1, and you know that you will be, at least your base will be safe for another couple of minutes, it's probably a good idea to tech. Even if you're struggling on metal, because if you can't solve the problem with T1, there's no point wasting metal on T1.
Yeah. The only caveat being is if you think teching will lead to your base being killed.
Yeah.
What's egg roll? What are you pinging there for me? Just out of interest. Is egg roll in here? I don't know.
By the way, I would not recommend getting Kropek. I would not recommend getting that amount of turrets. That's a lot of metal that could be put into other things. If you have basic solars at this time and you're wanting to upgrade and trying to get more energy production out, I would recommend getting advanced solars and start reclaiming your base ups to fund that transition.
Should we always go to advanced solar, or can we just decide to go more turbines? Is just go more turbines an option?
That's also an option.
Both are options. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. Wind takes longer to scale your energy. So if you really want to like increase your production quickly, then the solar is the way to go. If you want to like low cost over time scale, then wind is the way to go. But wind is extremely efficient. It just takes it has like a pretty high build cost because you have to spend so long building all the windmills to get going.
Yeah, if you're a frontline player that just needs cheap eco, wind is a lot more appealing. But if you're someone like a techer, on a wind map like this where the average isn't really that high, it's better to consider solar because you really need that consistency. Oh, Speezy, one thing I'll mention. I would recommend canceling the T2 constructor real quick and then re-queuing it up for that person again. Just that way you can get the metal to get the mechs going. Or doing that works. And I would strongly recommend focusing on getting T2 mechs going as quickly as possible if you can.
I'm seeing several players building more converters than they can afford to fund.
If you are a primarily solar economy, you should not be making that many converters. If you are mostly wind, converters are okay. You shouldn't really have any more than 10 converters. Even 6 might be a lot.
So 4 energy converters will convert 280 energy. You really don't need very many converters to convert your tier 1 energy.
I would like to pause at the actually about now. At this time, I would like for everyone to look at their allies' bases and your own bases at this time. I want you to look at what you're doing exactly with your backline and your front line. Perfect. I have a question to ask. Did the converter thing get turned to default on, or is it still default off?
Yes, I think it is now default on the converter usage widget. Although I'm not entirely sure. I think this.
So in case if people have been playing Bar for a while, where is it? If you type in into the filter energy converter usage under settings, I recommend turning that on to see how much you're spending on converters. It breaks down if you're. It really demonstrates if you're overspending on converters or not.
Where do we click on that?
It's going to be under interface. I have dev options on, so I need to refer.
Is that so people have to keep looking at the tops of the converters to see if they're lighting on or not?
It's the percentage, isn't it?
Yes, this is the percentage that you're seeing on the stream.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that dev options on right now.
Question from me. Do you think, it's Rice Man, do you think I've sunk too much metal into advanced solar? Like, I've almost got 6 up, and I don't see nearly as much. Well, I suppose.
Where are you on the map?
Second from top, on front line. Right side.
I think it's good, personally.
It's not an issue with the amount that you're spending on. If you have that many advanced soars in the first place, though, I would recommend getting rid of that basic solar you have still. Reclaim it, not destroy it.
Just a
the basics, yeah.
I wouldn't get any more than the amount of advanced soars that you've queued, by the way. Other than that, I think economically you're fine in terms of energy production and what you're going to be going into later.
Yeah. It's about this phase I start to chug sometimes.
Yeah. At this point in time, you need to be fairly conservative with your units. If you're going to be doing what you're doing.
Question. Two things. Is what I've got good enough to stop Genesis? Because I've got a history of losing to those. And I'm just trying to work out how to beat them.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Yeah, but I play core vehicles almost exclusively, so.
So
somebody suggested something, and I'm just copying what they said.
I would say with this composition, personally, less pounders. You don't need as many of them, and more of the other stuff. Especially if you want to counter Janus specifically, if you have a critical mass of missile trucks, Janus can't even approach you because they have a pretty low total of health. They'll just die to the missile trucks before they can fire. But that's sort of a stylistic choice. I don't know. You can make it work with other stuff.
Oh, Riceman, I forgot to mention this. With your army composition, a really important thing to consider is less Centurions. They're
quite expensive, aren't they?
They're quite expensive, and they work really well with the combo that you have. It's just that you've overspent on them. Centurions are much more of a defensive unit or a very aggressive unit. That's how they play out usually.
It's walking.
I'm not too great with knowing all the units yet. It's getting to learn them.
So, any of the Centurions that are on low HP in the first place, I would recommend reclaiming them. Just to get other things going. One other thing to mention, I wouldn't really mix rocket bots and plasma bots within that combo that you have. I would only be sticking with either rocket bots or plasma bots for that combo.
Okay, yeah. I tend to just go for a mishmash of whatever, and that's not been helping me out. Yeah. So yeah, good advice.
Yeah, with rocket bots, basically you just need to make they would work a little bit better in this lane right now because you don't have that many units. If you had a lot more units in the lane, however, plasma bots will be doing better.
Yeah, I'm losing mid pretty bad right now. What should I be doing differently?
I would recommend switching to units like the Rocket Bot or start trying to use the hills to your advantage.
Is that Ots Darva that was asking?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I think part of why you're struggling is because you have not spent your metal. So you just have less stuff than the guy you're fighting because you've got your metal in your bank instead of spent in units. So the way you need more energy production and more build power to spend the metal, and that's why you're struggling. Basically, is because of that.
You could also accuse your opponent of being a game dev. It usually works.
Meh. Really? Huh.
It's okay, Perfy. I know more of the arcane stuff than you.
Yes, that you do.
He's a wizard.
Sorry if that wasn't. I wasn't exactly sure how to phrase it about the unspent metal, but that's definitely part of the situation there.
Definitely good advice.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely
That's
good
for
advice.
the economy early on. I think that makes sense about more energy production making, and obviously need more build power.
Yeah, second or third nano would really help in the short term.
So also, how does what is advanced solar? It just feels kind of like a 1.5, some kind of niche thing. I don't see a lot of people building it.
It's pretty much exactly what it is tier 1.5 energy generation.
It's
What does it serve?
It's
you
so
just use it to prolong T1 fighting?
Advanced solars are more cost-effective versions of the basic solar. Advanced solars, they take a lot more to get going, however, as they have a very high energy cost. Basic solars do not cost energy, for context.
I'm just wondering, at what point do you just go for fusion?
On a map that has decent wind, like this one, I would make probably no more than 2 advanced solars, or maybe none.
I've queued
For
up 20,
fusion.
so maybe let's not do that.
Also, if you're going to queue up advanced solars, I'd recommend building them in range of your nano turrets so that you can actually get them up in a timely fashion. If you're building them solo with one constructor, it'll take a very long time to actually build any of them.
Yeah, typically advanced solars will mostly be on like the space maps that don't have wind, like Comet Catcher or Dark Side, because they are much, much better than normal solars, but they're usually not better than winds by a large margin.
Yeah, the main reason to build them is to get the consistency and to like quickly scale up, because you'll get the 300 energy faster usually if you're building them in your build power.
I usually use them if I'm air as well, because they smooth the curve a bit when the wind drops, and you've got spare metal as air usually.
Yeah, and air is very energy expensive.
Question.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 15 minutes into this game. Would now be when you sort of think about building your first anti-nuke, or would it be a bit earlier?
On a map like this, I would say you still have some time. This is a pretty low metal map without a really strong tech position, so nobody's going to be able to rush a nuke really fast. On some maps like Rosetta, where all the glitters, this is the time you would want to start thinking about an anti-nuke as a techer.
So it's more as map-based thing than
Teching is a very map-specific feature. On this map, there's basically 1 or 2 techers that are available at most. Any more people attempting to do a tech build is asking for a loss. It is possible to get a nuke out at the 15-minute mark, but on this map, it's not really that. It's something that just wouldn't really work that well. Nuke rushes only work in a handful of cases compared to Tigers doing other things. One of them being is that their team's not heavily losing.
A big thing too about nuke rushing is that even if you can get a very early nuke on a map like this that has a lower economy, you're not actually likely to kill very much valuable stuff because you need to scout for it, and if the enemy has less resources, you're spending a lot to kill very little. Like if you kill one fusion with a nuke, you're still kind of still behind because you spent more on the nuke, if you know what I mean. So on maps like this, it's you can put it off.
So what I'm looking at when I see the teams is, I think now would be where people should be getting their first nuclear plant.
You mean their fusion?
Yeah, fusion reactor. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're a techer on a map like this, you probably want to have a fusion by now, or within the next couple of minutes, definitely.
There seems to be only one.
Yeah, I mean that's not surprising. There's
fusion.
This is a training game and with a lot of inexperienced people. But if this was like a higher skilled game, then you'd probably see like 4 fusions by now, probably, maybe more.
Any other questions? Perfect, you can unpause.
And 1, and a 2, and a 3, here we go.
One thing I forgot to mention. If you are getting a tier 2 factory, I would strongly recommend reclaiming your T1 before getting the T2. Scarecrow, I like what you're doing with the with your commander and the T2 constructor.
Yeah, Scarecrow is an experienced player.
Okay. He's moving about, Hobochuk. What are you talking about?
He was just sitting still for a little while, just poking some fun.
If you're going for a T2 factory, look for things that you can reclaim if you need to reclaim stuff quickly, or if you need to get a T2 lab quickly. Things like if 1 or 2 of the advanced floors might. No, that wouldn't work. It would only be the factory that would be reclaimable, and maybe some nanos. Air is is the most expensive air T2 lab in the game.
So, Rice Man, during this time where you're working on these buildings, generally you want to focus on building one thing at a time. You're building a few different things at once right now, and so it's more important to focus your resources into completing one project at a time, so you can minimize your stalling.
Okay, so get the mechs, the T2 mechs up, and then go for the units, sort of thing.
Yeah, so building units and economic structures at the same time takes longer for both, and then you're just doing nothing. So
okay, that's good, yeah.
You can put your lab on wait is a good way to do that. Just remember to take it off when you're done with whatever you're doing.
Is there a hotkey for that, actually?
W on default. I'm not sure what it is on grid.
Y on grid.
Thank you. Reminder to eat basic solars if you have adequate energy production.
Yeah, when you reclaim structures, you get all of the metal back and none of the energy, and solars cost a lot of metal and they cost no energy, so you get 100% of your resources back when you reclaim solars.
They're also very inefficient use of metal compared to basically everything else in the game, so you almost always want to reclaim them when you're building them.
Starva, you might want to consider doing things with your units at this time. When an ally is starting to push into an enemy, you might want to consider pushing alongside that ally. Maybe not right now, because that ally pulled back. In the south lane, just be aware that there's about 2,000 metal reclaim available. In the north lanes, there's about 2,200 metal in the north.
Nie, dzięki. Duże czekolada. Ja wżarłem te mleczko. Powiem.
No dobrze, ale się wycisz.
O, sorry.
Spoko.
Well, Starva, I would not recommend getting a turret like that up and going. You don't have the energy production to support it. Also, if you have a building wireframe up, don't worry about leaving it out and about. If the structure starts debuilding, then the metal goes back into your into your storage.
I accidentally built 20 engineers.
Oh well. You have willpower.
I've saved the industry.
Well, you can give out those engineers for other people.
They're T1.
Still can be shared, or you can tell them to go out on the map and start reclaiming.
If you have a lot of extra constructors, you can always use them to build glorious fields of windmills as well. Wind is pretty much always efficient.
For hounds, I don't recommend using Gauss unless it's needed to be used. There's a lot of cost with using Gauss on hounds. You lose out on damage, and you also lose out on unit scaling.
I think they can shoot over each other in heavy plasma, but not with Gauss. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse in the next engine update. If you see a random radar dot out and about on the map, I'd be very wary of such things, as that's likely a commander that's cloaked.
Oh shit, they're all dead. Fuck. Oh no, I need power.
If you are an airplane at the back, I would recommend considering taking some bombers out and trying to help your front allies. Is Scarecrow in this voice chat?
I think so.
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. For your anti-nuke placement, I wouldn't recommend where it is, not just because of what's next to, but because you could be covering, you could actually be covering 3 of the other bases that are to your south a bit, like Perfy's.
Yeah, I just chucked to that because I had build power there. I'll plan on them.
Where you're
building it near your lab would have been better, I think.
Yeah, the T2 lab.
Nah, when I built it, I put the lab down pretty recently, but yeah, I agree it's not in a good place.
Having it in a bad place is better than not having it, to be fair.
Yeah. That's a nitpick. That's not like a major mistake.
Spreezy, I'd be careful about building things in front of your lab like this, because it's going to cause your units to have not a good time with pathing.
Oh.
Alright.
Yeah, that's... for future lab places, I would recommend having it in spots that normally don't get choked out. Because your ally in the front, that's in front of that factory, now needs to know about it. If you are working on getting fusions going or advanced fusions going, I would strongly recommend considering reclaiming your basic and your advanced solars at this time. With April, one thing I would recommend is spacing out your marauders a lot more. They're blocking a lot of their shots when they're clumped up like that.
It's also just a good idea to minimize splash damage. Marauders aren't the chunkiest units.
They can take a decent hit, and that's about it. By the way, always remember that pinging for your allies is really important. They don't know everything that's going on.
Is Commander Chartis in voice chat? I just think that it'd be good to remind him to be careful about using bombers, especially to units.
I wonder if some kind of low damage frontline tactical bomber existed.
Those are T1 bombers.
Might suggest Kropek build a few less gauntlets.
What was I gonna say? The Liche kind of fills that role a little bit, but it's more of a late game unit.
It's more of a surprise unit.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really for making the front line not have a functional army for a bit. Perfect. Did he try to use his commander for that, or was that the vanguards he was using?
I think it was commander self-destructing from Cloak.
Okay.
Oh no, that's my eco.
If you're on the west team, I would recommend starting a team design at this time.
When do I build a Sai? When do I build a Tremor? Feels like core vehicles has lots of options for AoE, but not a lot of everything else. Banisher does AoE, Tremor does AoE, Quaker does AoE, Tsar does AoE.
It depends on what your enemy has, really. If there's a lot of T1 units on the field and you have a lot of metal, a Tsar would actually be a rather good investment, but only having one or two of those at most.
There's specific unit matchups where Tremor is good. It's pretty good against snipers, and it's pretty good against like tier 2 vehicle artillery like Quakers and Mausers.
feel like this is it for me.
I thought I disabled the soundboard on this channel. Or was that just random game sound that I haven't recognized for a while?
T2 core vehicle. What do I do?
You would actually be better off going for air instead of T2 vehicles.
But what if I'm already T2 vehicles?
Really, it would just be Tiger spam.
I still get the feeling I don't have the advantage in that scenario.
You actually do. Tigers are one of the best, are actually one of the most powerful units in the game, on metal cost.
They're very cheap for what they do. They have a lot of hit points. They're very fast. They don't do anything flashy. They're just really efficient.
So many gauntlets.
Scarecrow, where you killed the last commander is roughly where Krokek's commander is. Killing his energy production will feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, I see him.
This spec cheat.
I've done worse.
Oh, how much energy do sniper bots use?
They use about 200 per shot. I think.
What? Oh no, am I confusing with Starlights? Yeah, I am. Right?
I think I'd give a lot of money for the ability to SARS to stealth stationary. Just watch a bunch of snipers waddle forward and suddenly a SAR appears and just blows up 3/4 of them.
Snipers are something that you don't want to have before a fusion is built, by the way. I'll get you the actual numbers real quick.
Is it 500 per shot?
Might have been why I was struggling with my economy a little bit there.
Another thing was the pulsar was not the
That was a bad idea,
the choice. Yeah, so generally speaking, you don't want to go for those until you have a very strong energy economy because they have a very high energy cost and they also have a high energy cost to fire.
Yeah, I kind of like sunk cost fallacied it there and didn't want to get rid of it.
With pulsars, if you're getting them that early, you ideally want them to be supported with pop-up plasma cannons to begin with, and the pop-up plasmas would be built before the pulsar. For snipers, it's 500 energy per shot, and it's 300 energy drain for cloak.
Ooh, I see.
Yeah, snipers are not energy; they are very energy dependent. So.
Yeah, they must have been. I think I had about 4 before I had a fusion, so they were really sucking up my power there.
I lied, it's 200 energy cost for the cloak while moving, and 75 stationary.
It's definitely viable to just leave your snipers uncloaked, though, if you have units in front of them to screen.
Yes, definitely.
There's rarely a situation where you need the snipers to be cloaked to begin with. And on top of that, all the enemy has to do is get 2 or 3 pinpointers and the cloak becomes useless.
Generally play a jammer bot with snipers, though.
Cloak snipers are just really easy to counter.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I'll take that on board. Give some good advice there. Yeah, I gotta go. But yeah, cheers for that.
See ya.
Yeah. That actually sounds like some pretty wise advice, and I might as well follow it, to be honest. Ugh. All right. Yeah. Dead. Thanks for this, everyone. See you around.
See you, perfect. Oops, that's the wrong button. I did not mean to. Close enough.
Driver, do you have a moment? I wanted to ask you about buying RAM. I'm a bit of a Luddite.
Oh, you're going to be buying RAMs for your computer?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the new update is going to require 16 gigabytes, and I'm currently on 8 because I had 16 when I built the computer, but then one of my 6 died and I just never replaced it.
Ah, okay. I'll get you that real quick. It's not too hard to look at.
Yeah, I just concerned about like compatibility issues and stuff like that because I don't really know what I'm doing. I just usually rely on friends for that kind of thing.
So that's what I would recommend. I forget the name of the AMD equivalent to XMP, but that should be that should get you in the right directions for what RAM kits to pick versus not picking.
Okay.
Also, one other thing to mention: DDR5 and DDR4 are not compatible with each other.
Right.
Same with DDR3.
Yeah, what I'd probably do is just get rid of my old RAM and buy like a 16 or 32 gigabyte kit. And just not have to worry about compatibility.
Yeah, you have an Intel CPU, right? Or is it AMD?
Let me check. AMD, it looks like.
Okay.
As for the GPU, I forget. I have to find.
That should be everything you need.
Okay. Do I need to check the GPU or?
Oh no, this is just a CPU thing only. It basically the GPU doesn't really care about RAM unless if it's an iGPU in the first place.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I definitely have a graphics card in there. I just can't remember which one.
Yeah, AMD Expo is an option that you could turn on in BIOS. I don't know if it's available for the AM4 platform. I do know that it's available for the AM5 platform. Yeah. Basically, it's it makes your RAM perform a little bit better.
Gotcha.
If there are people who want to join in for the next match, that'll be fine. So.
It looks like it's kind of died out a little bit.
Yep. Well, this event's been going on for about 2 hours. 2.5 hours, actually.
I could keep going if people are still wanting to play. I can't talk too much because I got a sore throat.
It's all good. I'll be picking a metal heavy map.
Is it CCR? Yes.
It's a staple map, so.
It's my favorite map.
There are a handful of maps in board that we're learning on them is actually quite important. This is one of them. I can. I've been trying to keep up on both YouTube chat and Discord chat at the same time. Yeah. Although YouTube chat isn't really that active in the first place. Yeah, sadly. I probably need a third monitor for that specifically then. Or just reorient to my monitors again.
I wonder how the Flying Fortress compares to the Hornet.
So for Hornets, they are a lot cheaper and they're a lot easier to scale up compared to Flying Fortresses. The advantage that Flying Fortresses have, though, is completely dependent if you have repair pads or not.
I'm gonna try and do something I've never done before.
I'm curious, can I do something like this? Well, no, that does not work. I tried to force start while the timer was counting down.
How many wind solar panels do you generally want to before you make a fab?
On this map, 3.
You can do it too.
I wouldn't recommend 2 unless I'm doing bots. So.
3 is definitely the more stable choice, but I typically do 2 because it lets you get scouts out faster.
Guma, are you in here? When placing factories, trying to make sure that they don't eject into a crater. Yeah. Yes, it's the brackets. Yeah, one thing I will mention, by the way, you should not be building converters on this map.
Unless it's super late game, I imagine.
Yeah. T2 specifically. And that's after a lot of T2 mexes are built.
I thought incisors were changed to be able to shoot over each other.
No. They have never been able to shoot over each other. The turret is a hitbox as well as the hole is its own hitbox. If you look at the stream, you'll see what the hitbox looks like. With your units, make sure to spread them out a lot more. By the way, if you have not built a radar in your lane, you should be doing that either now or in the next 30 seconds. And ideally, you should have multiple radars in your lane. Remember to ping in to coordinate with your allies.
I keep getting torn apart by Ramthis.
I'm also fighting Ramthis.
Don't forget to use set target.
I just knocked out Ram. This is Barmy, so you should be good.
I've got 3 armies fighting me most of the time.
Euro, I'm assuming you're console, right?
Yes.
Okay. In your situation, I would recommend getting 1 or 2 of the regular artillery units.
Yeah, considering there's 1,000 Dragon Maws in front of me. I was kind of just thinking to go around them, but yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. It's only like a 400 metal investment, and you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on a lot more metal. Also, going around them is also viable. Basically the ducks, or what are they called now? Quackers. Yeah. Something like a Banisher would be overkill.
I wanted the Banisher for skirmishing, but...
Yeah.
I feel like devoting my undying love to the Tsar.
The main thing to remember with the cheap T2 vehicles is that the T2 vehicle artillery is that they're a third of the cost of a Tiger, but they have half the DPS of a Tiger as well, and they have a lot more range. So even if you aren't using them, they're still going to be quite valuable to other teammates.
How cost effective is a Tsar?
Cost effective enough.
It depends, but generally speaking, it's only really like it's good for AoE. It's good for controlling crowds of lighter units, but it's not that cost effective. You're better off building Tigers, basically.
I kind of thought it would trade cost effectively versus Tigers, but it was.
It doesn't.
Tigers could choose the engagement.
Tigers can just opt not to fight it if it's not a good fight for them.
On top of that, you can get 3 Tigers roughly for the cost of 1 Tsar, and that has more HP combined and more DPS than the Tsar. The only thing that you're getting as compensation is range with the Tsar.
Is what I'm doing kind of what you're supposed to do with the Tsar?
Yeah, that works, but you should be pushing a lot more.
I've been killing an awful lot of stuff.
You should be getting more radars placed.
I've got 27 kills on the Tsar.
With the T2 vehicle artillery banishers, you can use fight command with them. The bug with the clackers not picking up on certain things has been fixed.
Too much early T2 only.
Say again?
Is the Tsar pretty much an early T2 only, pretty much, I think?
For this match, yes.
In general, sort of.
In most cases, yes.
That's a shame. Kind of wish it was scarier.
Also, at this stage of the game, I would recommend considering getting air infantry just for a surprise bombing run. Well, I wouldn't be surprised now, but it basically would be a very good way of ending the match. Yes, it is.
I think the Tiger's kind of scary.
Well, I need to call the event here.
I wish I showed up earlier.
This event's been going on for 3 hours.
Hey, but it's there. 8 a.m. here in Australia.
Unfortunately, my work schedule doesn't allow me to do much earlier or later.
Oh no, I'm not blaming Australia. Not one I should be focused on.
Ugly stepchild. Time zone confirmed. Yeah, thanks.